we're all humans. How do we connect?
Yeah.
What are those stories that drive us? But how do we drive that into other people, inspire people?
What's going on, everybody? It's George here again from NVISION on the Brews Buzzwords podcast. I have a very special guest here today who I've known for a few years. A real incredible storyteller and somebody who really takes pride in the quality of the work he does. Keith Chang, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you. Keith is the president of Sonova Canada, and he's been telling stories as long as I've known him. He's been telling me about incredible work he's been doing. And he really likes to shape stories to be more than just a visual that he's putting out into the world. I know you also find time to coach basketball, give back to the community. You're huge in the creative arts side. I know we've had a lot of conversations about hip hop and audio and production and your kids and my kids and where they are in their lives with all of that. So real pleasure to have you. Take a minute, introduce yourself to the world, tell everyone who you are, and let's dive right into this, man.
Sounds good. Keith Chang from Sonova Canada, and this year will be 30 years in business, and love the creative space. It's really, truly been my passion, and really, like you said, storytelling. And didn't know it back then that's what I was actually doing, but it's a huge part of who I am.
Yeah, for sure. And just in observing the work you put out there, that's what gravitated me to you, because and the conversations we've had over the last few years is your brilliance and your ability to tell stories and your passion to tell stories. So let's dive into it. So when somebody asks you what it is you do, how do you explain that to them without it sounding like a job description?
I think the way I approach it nowadays, I think when I first started, it really did sound like a pitch.
Yeah.
I think nowadays, and even in networking events where they get you to stand up and they say, you get 30 seconds. And within 5 seconds, I say, we bring story to people and authenticity. And I kind of end it there. Because I think that's the power of it, is getting people to ask, what is that? What more to it is that? And they ask that question to you.
Yeah, and I think that triggers in either you're interested in learning more, or the same for me anyway, so let me just move on and not waste anybody's time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So having lived through, 3 decades of doing what you do, which one of the 3, like 30 years in business, which one of those 3 decades would you say was the most fun?
Actually, each decade has brought something interesting.
Don't start talking about cameras and stuff. I know the technology has changed.
Not the technology. The way
if you want to talk about cameras, go ahead.
Let's geek out on cameras. No, the thing was the evolution of the storytelling element. I think when I first started, it was, let's get in there, let's film these cool places, and then we'll slam it together with a bunch of music to a beat, and it was very boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And then we were like, oh, that doesn't last very long. It's very splashy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Flash.
Yeah.
Right? Flash. Everything moved and animated.
Yeah.
And we got to a point where like, oh, we need to add some elements to it. So we would then bring on a writer to talk about all the information. Mm-hmm. So, we did some stuff in the mining industry, and it was like, oh, they won an award because they did this, and this. Here, we hit on all the points. I was like, well, that's not very engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we really dived in, and it was actually Simon Sinek did a talk on the why.
Yep.
And it was myself and my creative director, and we watched this video on YouTube, and we're like, whoa. It was like, poof, okay, we got to really look at why are we doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And then why are we doing this for our clients?
Right.
And that's when we dug into, we love movies. Well, movies all tell a story. There's a beginning, middle, and an end. So that's where we really dived into that and dug into, why doesn't corporate companies tell it like a story?
Right.
It's just, here's my product, let's flash it up, sell that thing.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, why don't we change it and flip it on its head? And it took a lot.
Of course.
There were a lot of companies that were very resistant. Well, that's my product. You got to sell my product.
Yeah. I think and again, to complement what you're saying, I mean, this evolution of storytelling, obviously we had theaters and movies and, stages with actors and what actresses. I mean, when you're talking about the video as a mechanism for marketing, I think the thing that resonates most with people, from my observation anyways, is when it's relatable to your life.
Yes.
You get what that thing is, as opposed to the hard pitch. Our
Yes.
product is great. Here's why. Here are the 8 bullet points. We have more storage. We have faster processors. We have faster cars, whatever it is. Our windshields are stars. Like, who cares? Like,
Exactly.
how can I visualize this in my world? Right. And I think storytelling is a big part of that because it's much more relatable.
Well, it really connects with people then. And
Yeah.
what we learned is the heart truly leads the mind.
Yes.
And sometimes I try to relate it as simple as possible to some of our clients is you can sit there and tell all the specs of the car, 400 horsepower. It's got 22-inch rims, but the person turns around at the end of the day and goes, ooh, I want it in red.
Yeah.
I want red. So all of a sudden, those specs didn't matter.
Yeah.
It was actually the feeling that it gave that person when they were looking at that vehicle and the color and what it looked like.
Yeah. One of my profs back 2 years ago when I was still in university, he would always call it the dream. You have to position the dream, and in the case of the car, which we studied a lot back in university, was the red car driving through the mountains, or the 4x4 going through the snow terrains.
Yep.
And it's like, the reality is most of us aren't going to take our 4x4s out to some mountainscape and go through snow. But the visuals and that storytelling and that dream of potentially doing that one day with that thing was what you're selling, right? And that's what great storytelling is creating that dream for individuals.
And I think was the most challenging part when we started stepping into that arena. And because a lot of our work was in the corporate space, was to convince people, hey, instead of putting 10 people on camera, we're going to only focus on a couple of people. But we're a whole team.
Right.
But that's where we tried to say is when you find those stories from these key characters and what they bring to the company and why they do it, it actually resonates with everybody.
Right.
And that becomes the power of that storytelling, because then you can actually follow that person and develop them. And that's where we try to key in on that, is just like in movies and how they're built. You have a main character, you have your supporting characters, right? And that's where the plot's built.
So in the 30 years that you've done this, and obviously you've honed in your craft and you've dialed that all in, has there been a time where you look back and you think, we had no business pulling that project off, but we did? You get excited. Maybe it's an opportunity that's never presented itself. Maybe it's a financial opportunity that's like huge value. But is there one that you look back and you're like, we didn't think we were going to pull this thing off, but we ended up accomplishing it and surpassing it? Like, do you have
the one that stands out to me most? Actually, was one we did for Cadillac Fairview. And it was with their HR department. They brought us in. And I remember the first meeting, they said, hey, we want you to run around the office, grab a bunch of people and have them tell you how much they love your job. And I think at that stage, it was the hardest thing for me to do, was sitting in a boardroom and saying, no.
Yeah, you have Cadillac Fairview in front of you. Yeah.
We said, no.
Yeah.
Actually, the approach should be like this. We're going to interview 10 to 15 of your people. We're going to select 4, but break them up into individual stories. And I think that was the toughest hurdle to overcome, was to explain to them that these stories will resonate. You find the right characters, the right people, they're going to resonate your company and really bring it forward, that anybody watching it, they'll feel it. And I think that was the hardest sell. And when we got that across, they didn't, until they saw our setup, until they saw us go through our process, that's when they were like, oh, this is something different. And that was the thing. We found a person that was in sales, but his background, he was a formerly trained dancer from the National Ballet of Canada.
Okay.
He performed in Switzerland. But then we interlinked it. His rigor and how he did his training applied to how he did his work, right? How he dedicated himself to it. We found a person in marketing that was a formerly trained chef from the Cordon Bleu School in England.
Wow.
But her creativeness and what she brought forward was just like how you would cook and putting in the ingredients. So we found all these interlinks and built these stories of these individuals.
Amazing.
That's when the client finally saw the first cuts and saw it come about, and they were like, wow. And I think the difference was also we submitted them into an award show. And I think that one of the proudest moments for me was when I was able to call the Cadillac Fair people to lunch, and I presented them with the award that we got, and they got to keep one. But it was not just that they actually trusted the process at that point, and they let us in the door.
Yeah, I find that that's a big thing is to establish that trust. I mean, you when you hire an organization, whether it be for, you know, the stuff that you do with the videos, the storytelling versus and what we do, you know, oftentimes we get a little bit of pushback or resistance, you know, but I always say, like, you've hired us for a reason. Let us do what we know our craft has taught us over the, you know, 30 years for you, 25 years for me. There's a lot you gain in terms of knowledge over those years. And, you know, when I met with resistance, I'm really trying to do what's best for the client and what I feel is going to yield the best results for them. No different than what you did in that scenario, right? Let me touch on, I know you just wrapped up a major project for Manulife and Amgen, and of those projects, what really stayed with you, and it not really as a producer, but as a person? Was there something that really stood out for you in those?
Well, with my business partner, Dave, when we combined together, he brought the whole live event side. And it was something that we were always dipped into, in that we were creating the visual and the contents for the actual event. So this time to be really immersed, like for Manulife, what really stood out for me was the fact that how the whole team came together for a short duration. We literally took over the entire History nightclub. It was full LED walls. There was projection mapping onto a curtain. It was just the sheer amount of content that had to be on it, but also the way it needed to be produced.
And that's what I want to tap into is talking about some of that, the people element of it.
Yes. Well, I think the thing is to see the team come together, working with other outside organizations to bring it all together and make it look seamless is incredible, because you have several hundred people in the venue experiencing that. And how do you, again, an event needs to tell a story. And I think that's the critical thing that sometimes comes into play, is everyone goes to events and it's a stage and a screen, and it's people just think, oh, well, you're seated there and you're just watching it. But it should never be like that.
Right.
The experience should be from that initial touch point to when they walk through the door, that when they, you know, are in a holding area and they walk into the space and everything plays. And this, it's almost the unsung heroes that are in behind making everything happen, but it looks seamless out front.
And that's probably the one of the most gratifying things, I would assume, is when it is so seamless to the audience that's there. It, you know, they're just taking it all in that immersiveness of being in that environment, and your people just sitting back and saying, look at the smiles in their faces, or look at how engaged they are in this thing that we've produced. Although nobody will really appreciate how many hundreds, if not thousands of hours have been put into it. That is the best part, right? Is when it's that seamless.
And that's that team aspect of it. When you bring it to the people that are engaged in it, from the execution side to the production side to the conceptual side, is that everyone comes together and is unified. And that's the beauty of, I find, of the creative team and the production team together, is this merge of, hey, we got this technology and how we're going to use it, how we're going to tell it, how we're going to express it, becomes this, it's almost like this dance.
Yeah.
Right. And I love it. And then you seeing it happen.
Very choreographed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when you see it actually, we did a time lapse of the build and you see everything go up and then you see everything get projected and they're testing the screens. And for me, it's truly that moment of, whoa, there's going to be several hundred people walking in this room and this is what they get to feel.
Yeah.
And that to me takes it beyond just the film and storytelling part, is that we're actually now telling that story live.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so the classic line, I'm sure you hear it all the time. Hey, Keith, just make it pop. What goes through your head when somebody says, just make it pop?
We take it with a grain of salt. But really the true approach to it is now, okay, what's that mean for you? What's that feeling for you? Because everybody expresses it in a different way, right? Yeah, make it pop. But what does that mean for you? At the core of you, what is that? And I think really what we've tried to do now is understand the client. What are you feeling? Now, and I think you said it earlier, is now let our expertise, let us bring it to you.
Yeah.
Right? Let us build with you together.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes that unified element. It's not just on the artistic side of saying, well, I'm the artist, just listen to me. I'm going to tell you what to do.
Right.
It's more of an exchange.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what your vision is, where you would like to go for it. This is where we can amp up your expression of what you want to get across.
Yeah. I think the one thing there is the thing that kills creativity faster than anything is when either party is like my way or the highway.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, it's no different than when we're working with clients where it is a very bilateral like dialogue that's going on. I need to understand you. You need to understand me just as much. And we're going to collaborate on building this thing. Because, I've seen it time and time again, and I'm sure you can attest to this. It probably is the thing that kills creativity faster than anything is that we're going to do this my way. And only my way.
Well, that's what I even see with you, like your exchange. And when we talk and you're telling me about how you exchange with clients and even what you put online is that interesting of, hey, did you think about this? And I think that's what we want to offer our clients is, hey, you've seen it this way for a long time, but did you ever see it this way?
Right.
Right. And it may be a little challenging, it may be a little bit scary, but it's okay. We'll work through it together, but we'll get you to a spot. And I think that's that engagement of energy as well, is that they can feel it from you that, hey, you truly want the best for them.
Yes.
Right. And I think for me, after this many years, it's beyond, I'm selling you something. I actually want to provide you with the best.
Right.
And here's our feeling. Let's merge that together.
Yeah.
But I'm really at the best interest of you.
Yeah. And then the assumption is that both parties are working towards the best interest of them, ultimately themselves. Yeah. And that's why you hire organizations like yours and mine, right?
Yep.
Are there things in the creative industry that still feel relatively the same as when you started this back 30 years ago?
I think technology has changed, but we as people, as an evolution, it still stays the same as I think where it comes down to even just what we were talking about. The communication of creativity.
Yeah.
I think that's always the most, because it's very subjective.
Yeah.
Right? When you say, oh, I'm going to choose a piece of music to do this, the person goes, I don't like that song.
Right.
Do you not like it because it doesn't fit with what you feel stylistically, or does it actually not fit with the piece and what the piece is trying to express?
Yeah.
So it becomes this subjective element, and that's where the work through is. So I think that will never change, because us as human beings have our own opinions, our feelings, our biases that come into play as well. So I think that's where it's always interesting, because you're trying to find that merge, right? And I think that's where you always see that fact of, do the companies speak to each other? Do they fit with your culture and what you do? So sometimes not every client's going to work for you because of the fact that they may not mesh in the same way.
And it's probably nice when you've been around as long as you have, where you could be a little more selective. You're not everything for everybody, because you have a way of doing things that probably resonate more with people who are open-minded, open to collaboration, as opposed to here's what I need done, get it done for me, and I in no ifs, ands, or buts, right? So in a world where hopefully people are starting to get more educated, in my opinion, like where all of this media exists, content is everywhere, it's infinite. I feel like that's been the biggest change, is like the opportunity to educate yourself in a certain thing. You don't have to be an expert in it, but you can certainly go on YouTube today and say, I'm looking, I want to watch videos that are of this, whatever, landscape or this style or this technique. And then you can have a healthy conversation with somebody who can actually pull that off, or you can at least have a conversation to say, here's some ideas that I have. What are your thoughts? And start that collaborative process a lot sooner than going in blind. Like 30 or 40 years ago when people were doing things on film, it's like, I don't know how to splice film and how to edit this stuff. It was very challenging. You said just before we started this interview, walking around with a 60-pound camera or a rig that you had versus now you got these SLRs that can do incredible, right? So I think to me, when I asked you that question, and I think you kind of said it, is the knowledge that people have and the opportunity they have now is right at their fingertips, right?
Well,
so you can have healthier conversations.
You can have healthier conversations, but I think also what I've discovered is, because it's so accessible now, that I always had this conversation with my creative director, Stan. I said, well, now that everybody can pick up a DSLR, they can just do it. And and he's like, no, it can't. And that's where you start to realize that there were several projects that we ran into that they thought it was too expensive to fly us out. They're going to hire a team over there. We even provided frames, lighting, setup. This is how it should look. They want them to speak to camera. And I said, this is the kind of teleprompter or kind of thing you want to set in place. And we get back the footage. It's great. They filmed it on a $30,000 camera, but it was like, what happened?
Yeah.
The lighting was all wrong. The footage was just, the person was looking down. That means they were reading off a cue card. Their eyes were flashing back and forth, and we're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So it's actually, it becomes that element of practice, I always say, is if you're going to become an expert in your industry, it's more than just pulling up a camera and anybody can hit the red button, but can you make it that visual, that cinematic, that thing that shows that quality? I think that's the distinction. And probably you see it the same way within anybody that builds a site or thinks of a site.
Oh, I'll say, and this kind of leads us into the next point, which is I don't think we can have this conversation without talking about AI a little bit. But what I'm seeing is, like, across the board right now is sameness. Everything's the same. Like I was playing with Sora.
Yes.
I'm sure you've tapped into it. So I'm sitting there and I'm playing with Sora, and it's like, yes, it's a avatar of my face and whatever in these scenes, and it's fun and it's quirky.
Yep.
But everything's the same. It's the same storyline, beginning, middle, end, high pitch moment, intense moment. And it's gotten very flat versus when you work with a professional who has experience and can not only review a script or a storyboard, but can see the vision and the output that you're trying to get, the outcomes you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Where do you see AI right now in your world?
So we've had a lot of conversations at the studio about this.
I would assume you have. Good and bad.
There's been good and bad.
Yeah.
And, for our writers and some of our designers is definitely, there's a hit point there, and I look at it as it can help enhance what you do.
Yeah.
It can't replace what you do, though some people think it will. My feeling always on it is it can't replace your human story.
Yeah.
Where you feel something at that moment, a computer can't know that's that moment. Even if you type it in or prompt it in, it's not going to know that will make you cry or make you feel sad or make you feel joy of that moment that you were sitting in a sandbox playing on that day when the sun was setting. You can prompt that, but it's not going to trigger
that emotion.
that emotion. So that's where I feel that it can't replace humans. And especially in our live event area, us as humans need to come together. And I think it was a good sign within COVID when everybody was tired of Zoom calls.
Yeah.
It's there for a reason, but you can tell you still need to come together and connect.
Yeah, it's there for convenience. It's not there for everything.
Exactly.
Humans need human connection, and I'll preach that till the day I'm 6 feet under. I mean, it's not my cup of tea to sit there and have a 2D call with a panel of people staring at me. You make it work.
Yeah.
But if the opportunity is there where it's I want to be in person versus online, I'm always going to choose in person at events, which are way more immersive. Especially I've seen some of the stuff you guys have set up. You're like, I want to be in that atmosphere. You know,
Well, it comes into a feeling, and I think,
yeah,
I mean, the biggest example that lately everybody's been throwing all over the place is the whole Coca-Cola commercial done with all AI.
yeah,
And then Apple recently did their commercial where they filmed everything real.
right,
They actually had the Apple logo cut out. They filmed it moving. Everything was filmed without any computer generation.
yeah,
There's something about it,
yeah,
right? And I think that's why you still see people going back to film, like to shoot photography on film, because there's something ethereal about it.
yeah.
That digital is great. It creates conveniences, but there's still something about tactile.
Tactile. Yeah, I agree. Is there a story that you feel like more leaders should be telling their teams, but rarely do so? Like, is there something that, you know, in your world, I know you've done work for large enterprises where, you know, we'll do this video to communicate to the community or our company or whatever. Is there something that's missing still in that space?
I think really nowadays, what we try to bring is, I think coming out of COVID and these past few years and the challenges in life in general, that, you know, I've said it and a lot of people have heard me say it now, is there seems to be a loss of empathy for humans. It seems very inward bound
Yeah.
instead of outward. And I think that's the thing I try to communicate the most, whether it be corporate teams we're with, and even our internal team, is we're all humans. How do we connect?
Yeah.
What are those stories that drive us? But how do we drive that into other people, inspire people
Yeah.
over computer generation, over the society and what it's choosing to do, and creating separation instead of a unity. And I think that's where we've been really trying to go down, is how do you tell it in a way to just make people feel something?
Yeah, and I've always loved that too. Is that the feeling you get when you see something that you just know there's been a lot of effort and energy put into like doing this right. It's not transactional, right? It's much more than transactional. It's somebody sitting there being empathetic or caring or putting in the work needed to really push something forward that's meaningful.
Yeah.
I know you know basketball shapes you. I play hockey, and I know hockey's taught me a lot of amazing lessons in my life. What lessons on the court show up a lot in your creative leadership?
I think what I learned from being a player and playing to taking the 3 or 4 years where I coached, you know, from 12-year-old kids to when they became like 15, understanding them. And that it was actually no different than running your own team at work. They all are individuals. They all have different feelings. They all have different things that drive them and move them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, they actually taught me a lot, and taught me a lot about what drives their emotions when they're on the court, the pressures, to see them from practice where they're outstanding, that when they get on the court, they freeze up.
The nerves.
The nerves kick in, and it's like, oh, I can't make a mistake.
Yeah.
And learning those things and going to all the practices and helping them understand who they are,
Yeah.
how to get through that pressure, that when you step on the court, you can do it.
Yeah.
Celebrating them when they do achieve something, or that kid scored his first point in a game after 5 games,
Yeah.
is to celebrate that. And I think those are the things that taught me resilience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And dedication. And that I always told them, the practice is where you put it in. And if you half cork the practice, that's how you're going to play on the court.
Yeah.
and to get them to translate that put in all your energy here because you're going to show up there.
It's amazing how much of that is translatable sport to, corporate environment or running a business, right? You bring your all, and you're continuously like, I always say, everybody I talk to talks about failure, but almost everybody that I've interviewed on this couch has always looked at failure as a positive thing if you learn something from it, right? No different than the court, no different than in business. You should be allowed to fail to some extent.
And I think that's the problem nowadays, as I actually said it, and I talked to the kids about it, is that with TikTok, with social media, everything's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
They see Steph Curry as like three-pointer, 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 three-pointer. And I sat them all down and I said, he's the best shooter in the league at 40%.
Yeah.
That means he misses 60% of the time.
Right. And over and above that, don't get lost in the video that you're watching right now, because the guy spent a lifetime practicing. First on the court in the morning at practice, last to leave, and he's just tossing threes all day to get better at his craft, right?
And I think that's the biggest thing, and the learning lesson trying to tell them is the fact that that's what you got to put in.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that part of that coaching was actually dealing with parents.
Sure, of course.
So I remember parents coming up to me and going, hey, how come he doesn't get this many minutes? Why doesn't he get to play this much? I said, okay, I just want to ask, other than the 2 days that I get him for 2 hours, how much does he practice afterwards?
Right.
Oh, he goes and plays pickup once in a while. I'm like, that's not enough. If you want him to play competitive in rep league, he has to do more outside of just the 4 hours I get him a week.
Yeah.
If he wants to play for fun, there's house league. But if you want to compete and you want to be on a team that wants those wins or wants to push that, you have to put in the work.
So translatable to work, man. If you want to get amazing at your craft, yeah, you can have your 9 to 5, but if you're really passionate, you're doing your research and studies.
Well, that was always the thing, was I have a cage full of equipment.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? It's there. When we're not shooting, what are you doing with it? And I had people ask me, you took your cameras home to do what? I said, to film stuff. Yeah. What are you filming? I said, anything I'm putting together, right? I might be filming my son running around, tying his shoes, filming in slow-mo, and I'm going to edit a piece. I'm going to put something together.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you just do a whole week of work doing that? I'm like, yeah, but I always try to tell them that camera is my paintbrush.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an extension of my creativity.
Yes.
Where does creativity stop?
Yes.
It doesn't.
Yeah, that's what gets me excited about Michael. So he'll be like, hey, I'm taking this gear home. Like, go for it, man. Like, I'm going to shoot my daughter or family event. I'm like, do it, man. But that passion, I mean, it goes a long way to showcasing, not only are you looking for this continuous desire to create the arts and the beauty behind the lens, but also like it just helps you hone in your craft that much more the more you apply yourself to it, right?
Well, it's that hunger to learn.
And it's like, dude, this shit's here. There's cameras. We got lenses. We got, I don't know, Michael. What do we have here? I mean, we got a million weird screen things. I'm like, take it, man. You want to use it? Go enjoy. Well, just don't break the shit.
But it's funny. Just before we started recording, he said that. He said, hey, Keith, don't mind my setup. It's kind of unconventional. And I looked at him and I said, what's conventional?
Yeah. What is convention, right?
Just because you went to film school and you learned this is the way it's supposed to sit doesn't mean that that's the way it's supposed to sit.
Right.
If you figured out a way,
yeah,
then you figured out a way.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. So in terms of like excitement for you, I mean, obviously we touched on AI slightly, and we can probably have an entire podcast on that and gear and the evolution of equipment. What are you excited to experiment creatively on over the next year? Like, what are you seeing in the space?
I think where we really tried to transform is taking live events to that level where it's very much story driven other than agenda driven. I find a lot of live events are now attending a lot of them, being at a lot of them, us producing a lot of them. It's very, here's the agenda. CEO's going to go on stage and talk about this. Then we're going to talk about our numbers. We're going to talk about this. But I keep thinking those people sitting in the crowd, whether they're your salespeople or people that are coming in to watch you, did you inspire them with anything? And I really feel that you can throw numbers at people all day long, and they're going to walk out of there, and I'm going to ask them, do you remember any percentages at all?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you remember a story that was told to you? It may have some facts in there,
Mm-hmm.
but do you remember how it hit you?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's key for us moving into this 2026 period is truly, how do you bring story to an event?
Yeah.
There's a beginning, middle, end of an event.
Right.
Well, that's story. And how do we drive that through? How do we communicate that through? And yeah, there's a lot of companies out there saying, yeah, we're storytellers. But do you really know what storytelling is?
For sure. I mean, I can't tell you how many of conferences I've been at or events that I've sat in on, and I'm just like, please end. This is the most boring shit. I'm sitting here like, I'm like, this could be so much more captivating, you know, and relatable if somebody could just the essence of, or the context of what I'm listening to, it could be okay, but it could be that much more engaging if it was told better through story.
Well, I've always believed, like, just because it's a live event, yes, you put a stage down. Does it have to be a stage that's just a rectangular block? Do we just have to put 2 16:9 screens on 2 corners and call it a day?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you just mesh things in a different way that molds people into the space
Yeah.
for the concept that in the message that you're trying to deliver?
They become part of it.
That's
Right.
not just this accessory that's there.
Yeah.
It merges, becomes part of it.
Yeah.
It engages people into it, whether it be multiple screens that tell different stories on each one as a person's presenting, or telling a story and images pop up in different areas. So it moves people's eyes. It engages them. Like you said, that you're not sitting there going, oh, just get me out of here. Right?
Yeah.
And how to inspire people through your stories, even if you have to pass that corporate message, but it can be done in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So if you're designing the perfect brand story, and before you even touch the camera, what elements have to exist?
The message, a clear message from the client, sitting down with them and truly understanding who they are. And I always say, why do you do what you do? It's the question from Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
Where's it come from?
Yeah.
Every business is built from something.
Yeah.
Every owner who has started something started it because of something. And somewhere along the way, they lose it to bottom line, numbers.
Sure.
But if I ask an owner or a person, a creator, where did it come from? Then they go back and rethink, oh, this is why I did it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it because of this. Wasn't that how you inspire all your employees to do the same then?
Yeah. So nostalgic when you can think back, right? There's certain things that for sure, even for myself, going back 25 years, I'm like, wow, like where is that passion, or where's that guy? Like I want to draw from him, because I know that guy is, I mean, things change over 25 years, 30 years for you. But if you stay rooted in your beginnings, you know, I think there's a lot to be told there.
I think the thing is, I've even said to my kids is, as you become older, you're always being told, be an adult.
Yeah.
Be more professional. Be more
corporate.
Yeah. We lose curiosity.
Yeah.
And that's a big statement within our company as well. Is, you know, I see my nephews playing on the ground and they're playing with Legos and they're making something. And I go, what is that? Well, it's a spaceship that flies in the air and it has these doors and it has this, right? But an adult will say, well, it doesn't have a cover on it, so they're not going to be able to breathe.
Yeah.
And they're not.
What is the efficiency around that space shuttle and
Right.
reaching atmosphere? Yeah.
But they're so curious. And that was that thing too. I was building something and my brother's like, what is that? I'm going, it's the space station.
Yeah.
Right. And he goes, how do you think of that stuff? I said, curiosity.
Yeah.
You become that kid. And I think we start to lose that. And I think we start to not have fun anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember being on set or 15-hour day and the head of marketing turns to me and goes, why are you still smiling? I said, because for me, this is my playground. And I've told this story many times. It's like, remember you were a kid in the sandbox with your trucks and you're just playing and the sun goes all the way down and you're being told to come home now. Well, the day blinked by like that because you were making stuff up. You were playing.
Yeah.
And I said, for me now, even after this many years, for me, it still feels like play. I get to do this for a living.
That's amazing. And I wish more people would take on that attitude, like where they enjoy it so much. It is just playing in a sandbox, right? And you can do it from dusk till dawn.
Yeah.
And just enjoy every minute of it because you're just curious.
Well, I can see it. You can get tainted in an industry. You can say, oh, this is the same old thing. I've had people say to me, oh, you're just going to do a headshot. But I'm like, yeah, but what's the room look like? Where's the lighting coming from?
Yeah.
Are we using the outside? Are we using the cityscape? How are we going to light that person?
And isn't it amazing that those little details kind of get taken for granted, because it goes back to that tactileness of it. So it's like seeing it, been there, done that. It's somebody's going to figure it out, but it's like a lot of thought goes into creating something beautiful, right? Whether it's video, web, marketing initiatives, headshots. If it's done right.
Well, you said it's the little details.
Yeah.
It's those little things that, oh, I'm looking through the lens. The person's hair's out of place. Yeah. Can we brush that for you? Are you okay with that? We're going to come in. We're going to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
The collar's flipped up a little. We're going to come and adjust that.
Yeah.
And like you said, it could be taken for granted. Oh, whatever. I'm just going to shoot it.
Yeah. Well, I used to have these strings that would, when we were doing photos, one would be over my shoulder. I'd be in this video, and I just ended up taking them off because I'm like, this is driving me nuts. And I had Michael be like, straight out.
But that's the attention to detail. That's like you said, he'll grab the cameras and go home with them.
Yeah.
That means this person truly enjoys what they do.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So if you were to give companies one piece of advice for storytelling in 2026, which we're just around the corner now, something that they don't want to hear, what would that be?
Is telling the human side of the story, not from the perspective of the C-level.
Not the bottom line.
It's the people on the ground.
Yeah.
It's your people. The CEO can stand there, the CFO can stand there and say, rah, rah, rah. But what if the story from the person in the mailroom, or, that's wheeling the cart around, refilling the water or the drinks in the fridge, or the person doing the numbers? I think that was one of those things that we try to do on a consistent basis. Is we went into a manufacturing company and they said, well, these are our machines. And I said, okay, what makes your machines, they look similar to your competitors? And I said, what makes it different? Well, the way we think and the people that we have that design the machines. I said, okay, let's go film your people.
Let's go talk to them.
You'll see the machines.
Yeah.
But let's go talk to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, is it's the people, the boots on the ground.
Yeah.
That are the core. And that's what I've always believed is I get all the glory because I'm, here I am, the president of the company, but I always say it's not me.
Yeah. And I love that lack of predictability that comes with bringing others into the fold that are these specialists in either the machine or the thing they do. Because it's not scripted. You're going to get their true responses, hopefully. And
yes.
I think as a producer who's doing these things, that's your objective, is to get that natural discussion going so that the response you get on the video you're capturing is very genuine and authentic, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, it's like what you're doing here with your podcasts. It's not scripted. Sure, there's ideas.
Yeah.
But then once you start asking, whether it be a person that's been with the company for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, or 2 years, there's something that why they stayed with you.
For sure.
And to draw that out of that person becomes that passion.
Yeah, I'm an organizer. I have my set of questions that I like because I do some research on all of our guests, but I go way off this. This is my foundation. But then once the conversations get rolling, I truly get curious. My curiosity starts to peek its head. And I'm like, tell me more about that thing. Let's dig into that. So I appreciate having you here. And
thank you for having me.
Love this conversation, Keith. And I love all of our conversations, and going back to the restaurants and coffee shops we met up at. They're excellent. And take a second. How would our audience find you? Where can they find you? Where can they find out more about what you do?
Mainly on Instagram. You can find us at Senova, SENOVVA, Senova.ca. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Keith Chang. And thank you for having me. This is incredible.
This was my pleasure. I love talking to people who have this passion for strategy and crafting beautiful human side of storytelling. And that's what's always gravitated me to you. So I really appreciate you having you here.
Thank you.
Taking the time out of your busy day to be on our show. For everyone, check Keith's workouts, Sonova Canada. He does some incredible work, him and his company. Yeah, listen, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being an amazing guest. See ya.
Peace.
Peace. Thanks for watching this video. If you got something out of it, please like, subscribe, or share it with your friends.